All right, so we're going to continue talking about our classifications of lines by slope. Just as a reminder, we read a graph like we read words. We start at the left and move to the right. So we start here and we read over, and this is increasing, and so it would be a positive slope. If we look at this one, we start at the left, move to the right. That's going downhill, so that'll be a negative slope. Our horizontal line will always have a slope of 0, and our undefined slope will always be that of a vertical line. Today we're going to look at concentrating on, if we're given two ordered pairs, how can we calculate the slope of a line? And so we're practicing on using the slope formula. And so the slope formula, slope is m, is going to be the change in our y value. And we think of this as our y1 value and our y2 value. So we're going to take y2 and subtract y1. That's our change in our rise. And then this is our x1 and our x2. And we're going to have the change in our x value. And so for this particular set of ordered pairs, we're going to start with, I always just like to draw my, there's my equation, or my formula. So I'm going to start with y2, which is 1, and then minus y1, which is 3. And that's going to give me a negative 2. And then I'm going to go to my x2, which is 7. And I'm going to subtract my x1, which is a negative 2. And what happens, I already have a minus sign in there, and when I go minus a negative 2, that's going to change that to a positive 2. And so we're going to see that we're going to have a slope of 2/9. That is negative. Now, you might want to, you don't have to plot these points, but you might want to just give yourself a quick visual. This might help you justify your answer or confirm your answer. If we think about the point negative 2, 3, that's going to be there somewhere in quadrant 2. And the point 7, 1 is going to be here in quadrant 1. But if you look at those 2 points, you can see that that is going to be a negative slope. If we read it from left to right, it is going to be decreasing. And so that might help you verify that that slope of negative 2/9 is correct. Let's look at another example. So these are our two ordered pairs. And we're using our slope formula again. M is equal to the change in the y values. And so we have y1, y2. So we're going to do y2 minus y1 over the change in the x values. So x2 minus x1. And so slope is going to be equal to, we're going to take negative 4 minus a negative 5. Well, minus a negative 5 turns it into a positive, and so that gives us a 1. If we look at our x's, I'm going to have negative 7 minus a negative 8. Minus a negative turns that into a plus, and that's going to give me a 1. And so the slope that I'm going to have is 1 over 1, or 1. Once again, if you wanted to, you could do a real quick graph, or you could think about this mentally and think of negative 8, negative 5 would be here in quadrant 3, and negative 7, negative 4 would be here in quadrant 3. But you could see the line would have a positive slope to it. All right, let's take a look at the next one. And we're once again looking for our slope using our formula. Here's our y1 minus y2. And here is our x1, x2. And if we go to do our formula here, we're going to have that -4 minus 5 is going to give us a -9. And then -2 minus a -2 is going to give us a 0. And 0 is under in the denominator. And so that tells me that this slope here is undefined. Remember, anytime we go to divide by a 0, slope is undefined. So what we would actually have is a vertical line. And we really want to start to make sure that we see the connections between when we have a vertical line, then our slope is undefined. And if we look at the x values, if we go back to our ordered pairs and we look at the x values, do you see that those two x values are the same? So if we saw that at the very beginning, then we could forego all of this work and simply just say, hey, I see this. And so that tells me that it's a vertical line and it has to have undefined slope. So that could be a shortcut there. Now, keeping that in mind, you may notice when you go to look at this one here, if you see these that are the same, then you might be able to immediately draw to the conclusion that what we have here, since our y values are the same, is a horizontal line. And therefore, the horizontal line has a slope of 0. And so you might immediately just say, slope is 0. Now, if you forget, we can go and do our slope formula and say the change in the y values, 1 minus 1, over the change in the x values, -4 minus 3, is going to give us 0 divided by a number. 0 divided by any number is 0, and we confirm that the slope is 0.